Now with more is the host of Tomi. Lahren is fearless on Outkick. Tomi Lahren, and former senior advisor to President Trump, Stephen Miller. All right, so Tomi, we begin with Operation Keep Joe Biden from Falling on His Face. Didn't actually have a great first day because he nearly fell on his face again going down the shorter stairs of Air Force One. You really can't make that up, can you?
No, and it's pretty sad that we're at this point now that we're worried that the leader of the free world can get on and off stairs, even the smaller stairs, without incident or accident. But you have to wonder what the rest of the world is thinking. You know, our enemies are waiting to pounce, and they see this man who can't even take the kiddie stairs. And if there's ever a time to pounce, now would be the time. And there's no coincidence that you've got tens of thousands of people coming across our border each and every single week. They see this man that can't mount and get up the stairs on his own, and they know that this is the time for them to take over America, to come for everything that we have. Our enemies see it. Putin sees it. Of course, the Ayatollahs see it. The world sees it. And how embarrassing that this has to be their primary focus. Let's just make sure that our president doesn't fall down today. Also, because the vice president could be potentially even worse. That's where the Democrat Party is. And Gavin Newsom, he's loving this more than anybody else, I have a feeling.
I think so, but he swears up and down, left and right, that he's not running under any circumstances. All right, Stephen Miller, as I look at all this today, you know, he goes to label the acronym, oh, it doesn't matter what we call it, because he couldn't remember it. Then you have him nearly fall on the first day of Operation Don't Let Biden Fall Again. Then, of course, you know, you put that on top of what we learned last week. He bumps into a flagpole, doesn't shake the hand of his Brazilian counterpart goodbye, wanders away. And, you know, it's like every single time he opens his mouth, even when it's not a disaster, it's mumbling, bumbling, almost incoherent from him. It's obviously his cognitive issues are getting worse, and it's impacting his, you know, physical health as well. How do they stick with this guy?
Well, the pace of the decline is accelerating quickly, Sean. Let's not mince words. This is a horror show. The White House placed a story today about Operation Don't Let Joe Trip, where they're going to put him in comfy support sneakers, and they're going to have him go up the little staircase, the back entrance to Air Force One, and the man still nearly toppled down a flight of stairs in the view of the entire world. He cannot put two sentences coherently together. As you say, he's mumbling and bumbling and stumbling, not to mention this whole trip, which was clearly a response to President Trump going down to speak to the auto workers, is completely nonsensical because they're protesting Joe Biden's policies, Sean. It's his climate policies. It's his energy mandates. It's his trade policies, his inflation, his bad economy that is driving down wages and living conditions and employment opportunities for auto workers. So we have a president that can't speak, can't talk, can't walk, can't move, and his economic policies are leading to ruination for America's working and middle class.
You know, it was reported, we don't have it on tape, Tomi, but it was reported, it was widely reported about this incident when he was with, you know, a group of you know, doing a fundraiser, a group of supporters, financial supporters. So I don't know if you've ever met anybody that has dementia, even early onset or Alzheimer's. Look, it's sad. It's tragic. I've seen it up front, up close and personal. You don't wish that on anybody. But with that said, is one of the classic symptoms of this type of cognitive decline is what happened at this private meeting where he told a story, you know, and then a few minutes later, not remembering that he just told the story, told it again. You know, another characteristic would be, you know, people ask you a question, you give them an answer, and a few minutes later, they'll ask you the question again. And 10 minutes after that, they might even ask it another time. Very classic symptoms that are now, you know, beginning to become very public. So, I mean, we can only imagine the shape he's going to be in, you know, a year from now.
They can't hide this much longer, Sean, and they know that. And that's why there's a panic mode going on right now at the DNC, because they know they have to get rid of Joe. They're not really worried about that. I don't think that they worry too much about pushing him off to the side. They worry what they're going to do about their Kamala situation. They can get Joe out of the way, but how do they get over Kamala Harris? How do they install Gavin Newsom over Kamala Harris? Because Kamala Harris is, quite frankly, their worst nightmare. So I think it's interesting. Gavin swears up and down that he's not running, but you have to listen to the way that he says that. He's not going to run against Joe, but it's not as if he's not going to be the replacement for Joe. So the way that he discusses this, I hang on every single word that he says. So make no mistake, the Democrats, they're done with Joe. They're tired of Joe. They can't hide this much longer, but they got to figure out their Kamala situation. And that's where they have the hang up, because they push the identity politics and they don't know how to leapfrog her with the white man from California with the good hair. That's a hard sell to the party that has been built around identity politics. That's their
Last
challenge.
word, Steve Miller.
Best of luck.
Yeah, last word, Steve.
Yes, they're in an impossible situation and they have no way out. They can't get around the Kamala Harris problem because they have lived by identity politics. They've made that their highest order. So they can't go around her to get to Gavin Newsom, but they can't get rid of Joe Biden. So ultimately, it's going to be a total train wreck. Plus, they have RFK Jr., who maybe will run as a third party. They don't know what to do. But my advice to Republicans is keep your eye on the ball. Keep these investigations going. Do not relent. Do not stop till all the facts are uncovered.
Okay, and it's Cornel West, it's RFK Jr., it's talking to the Libertarian Party, then you got the No Labels Party. That's a lot of potential third-party competition. All right, thank you both. Thank you, Tomi. Thank you, Steve. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.